5, 10 years, I see myself managing millions of dollars of my own money, being pretty big off into real estate because real estate is actually the next step. Trading was always the main thing. It's always my vehicle. Is always my vehicle. I love trading. Like it's fun, especially when you're winning. It's a rush, But
Hello everyone and welcome back to another TFT interview. Today I have the pleasure to host Jordan, who after blowing 30K and losing 10 challenges, finally found consistency. So let's hear his story. Welcome, Jordan.
How you doing? And I appreciate you guys having me.
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic.
Glad to hear. So can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you into trading?
Yeah, so like you said, my name is Jordan. I'm 25. I started trading December 2018. So I was about 21, I think. That'll be right. That's correct. So I was about 21. I actually got started. I know a lot of people in the trading community are familiar with IML, or I think they're called IM Academy now. But basically, it was a network marketing group. My best friend had gotten involved with them. And so he kind of recruited me, would end up signing up in December 2018. I didn't take too much interest in the sales side or the marketing side, but I took majority of the interest, obviously, in the trading side. I saw the potential of trading, and like it was pretty much all gas, no brakes for that first 3-4 month stretch when I just completely immersed myself in all the education, everything that they offered at the time. But that's how I got started through IML.
And can you tell us a little bit about the learning curve?
Yeah. So the learning curve was interesting. It was because it's like I feel like I hit the curve like 2 or 3 times, honestly. It's like times where I thought I had it, and it's like, oh, okay, here comes the next trial and tribulation, like here comes the next curve. But so my very first trade was a gold. I think it was a gold long. I went long on gold. It was a signal through the the marketing group, and I had put $500 in the account and made $96. That's what I made. So I'm like, oh man, this trading stuff's easy. It's like this is it. I was an air traffic controller at the time. Actually, I graduated high school, went to the military, and so I was controlling traffic out here in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, I was making good money doing that, but it's like, man, I made $96 a day not doing anything. So like at that point, like I said, I was sold. I actually didn't see any money again until June 2020. Mm-hmm. So December 2018, I made that one little amount of money. It's like it was just constantly blowing accounts. And I didn't really seriously start learning how the markets move until I was kind of just hoarding knowledge, but I didn't seriously start learning about how the markets moved until probably about August 2019, September 2019. But from that point right there to June, was just constantly pretty much like really hoarding knowledge, really like, I guess, trying to like digest it how I could. Mm. And, I finally saw like my first little taste of real profits, which was about, when I first got funded with FTMO, which was 2020. And then I got my first split in May, which was about $4,000. And then my second split was about $15,000, but I made 10 after the 80 split, or 70. That was back when it was 70-30. Mm-hmm. So I got 70% of 15,000 and resigned from my job. And that was when I'll say the real curve came, because at that point, like I had the knowledge to be a profitable trader, but I didn't have the mindset that goes into it. Mm. And of course, I didn't catch on to that right away. So I'm still studying the charts and stuff, thinking I'm just I'm misreading bullish engulfings or, bearish engulfings or, morning stars and whatnot. But in reality, it's like I knew everything I need to know. I didn't have the knowledge of self, I guess, to like maintain it. And that's where the real journey came in, because I had to like actually, the learning curve, ironically enough, isn't so much trading. It's more so just like, you understanding what works best for you with the charts. And that comes from like, learning yourself. So, yeah. That was where it really came when I resigned from my job in June 2020. And then for the next 2 years, it pretty much took me learning about myself, doing little stuff on the market, still paying attention to how I react on the markets. But that was, I'll say, I saw the biggest improvement through the learning curve. But what got me through the learning curve was a lot of meditating. I think meditating was whenever I really started to see stuff shift in my direction.
Mm. And how long time did it take you to become profitable?
So I would say from the start, it took about 4 years exactly, because I started trading December 2018, and I'll say I became profitable December 2022. Mm-hmm. So about 4, honestly. Mm-hmm. But, those past 4 months have been like just amazing. Like I've seen winning streaks. I've only taken, because I didn't go for an account right when I got profitable. I didn't go for another account until, February. And then ironically enough though, I got funded in 7 days. So I did $1,000 challenge, and I made the, I did a rapid account, which requires 8% on the initial phase. Yeah. So, I spent like 2 days, 3 days, and then going into the verification, I did in like a day or two. Mm-hmm. One trade, I risked like $1,250 to make it 25. So,
yeah. Did you have other mentors, and did you join any communities?
I actually didn't. So I was doing a lot of, like I said, like prior to you understanding what trading really is, you spend a lot of your time looking for knowledge, like on the charts and stuff. So it's like I never had a mentor, actually. I was in IML. I mean, a lot of people watching this are probably familiar, but they're kind of phased out too now. Like, they're not really around as much anymore. But, I had IML. I didn't really have any mentors in there, but I was so paranoid at that point that I thought everyone was just trying to scam me of my money. So it's like I didn't want to buy any courses. Like I didn't want to give them more money. If I could go back and tell my younger self, I would definitely tell myself, buy one course, stick to that one course, and, just commit to it. But no one ever mentored me. I had friends, like all my friends started off trading. All of them don't trade anymore, but I got about 2 or 3 that still trade. So we would collaborate a lot. Mm-hmm. Like I had a house. I sold it about a year ago now, but I had a house throughout all of COVID and everything, pandemic and everything. We were all trading full time pretty much. So we'd be in the house, like studying for 10, 15 hours together, bouncing ideas off each other and stuff like that, falling asleep in my office and stuff like that. But I never actually had a trading mentor. I'll put emphasis on a trading mentor because my dad's a pastor. And he did mentor me a lot spiritually. And and that goes back to what I was saying earlier about like a lot of my breakthrough. I started to catch traction when I started to meditate and stuff like that. And like get in touch and like, develop a relationship with God and like just grow spiritually. So, but no, I never had a trading mentor, but I did have, my dad, he mentored me a lot and taught me a lot. That I needed to. And that was honestly when he started mentoring me, which was about a year ago. And I can even go into detail for later in the call on that too. But when he started like really guiding me about a year ago was whenever I really saw a shift just in life and even in trading. Like it happened gradually. But.
And what did you struggle with the most during the whole trading journey? And how did you overcome those struggles?
What did I struggle with the most? That's an interesting question because there was a lot of struggles. I'll call out a few though. I've never been scared to risk. Risk was never like, I'll get in like anytime. Like I've never been scared to like, going a few lots, 4 or 5 lots, depending on the account size. Like even on that $500 account, I was actually in that gold trade. Anyone who's been trading for a while knows that gold is not a baby. Gold will leave you in the dust.
It knows.
It will. It'll turn a 0.25 until you had all lost real quick. So my first trade in gold, I was actually in on a $500 account, like a 0.6 lot. First trade I ever took. And so it was never really the risk factor, but I would say, people always talk about fear and greed. That's what it comes down to, I feel like. And it was always more sort of greed factor. Like I would find myself misanalyzing the charts because I'm trying to get ahead of myself. I'm trying to see stuff that I want to play out versus what's actually playing out. And reading like the price action. That was the biggest thing I had to ground myself with. And that's what I didn't even learn how to control that on the charts. That's the crazy thing about it. I actually would start to be more aware of myself, my day-to-day life. Like I would just start to pay attention to what I'm doing. Like, why am I rushing to go home and I don't really have anything to do? I'm in traffic. I can't do, just small stuff like that. Yeah. Because I'm just, by nature, I'm an impatient and anxious person. And then, that fueled my greed. So I would find myself, like even I'll say, even on my funded account, it actually took me through, I was eligible for my first withdrawal within 2 weeks, but it actually took me 3 weeks because the first week and two, like I kept bouncing back between 1% and 2% risk. Like I would risk and then fall and it's like, I'm down 2%. And I don't want to risk, 2% and be down 4%. So it's like, it just, even as recent as 2 weeks ago, like I found myself kind of like having to like get that in check again, like having to constantly maintain that awareness and discipline to keep my anxiety that I've, overcame in check. And then there was a lot.
Do you have a journal? Like, do you journal your trades and your emotions?
I don't journal them like that, but what I do is I note them on TradingView. So I leave all my projections down from every trade I take. And I've actually only been doing this for the past 7 months maybe. So I started leaving my projections down and then I just hide them. And so now whenever I go back and review trades, I go back and look at the projection and then I pretty much get in that zone and think about how I was feeling in the moment, stuff like that. And because often every trade that I lose, of course, every system is going to be flawed, but a lot of trades I lose were because I would ignore like just blatantly obvious stuff like a 4-hour zone or the fact that the momentum is going against me, not so much now, but the momentum was going against me. And so like, I saw what I wanted to see because I was too busy thinking about the profit that I haven't even made yet. But to answer your question,
so you kind of had like expectations and beliefs, and you just waited for them to happen.
exactly, I would project it onto the markets, and it's like whole time this market is selling. It's not buying.
And how did you manage to become of like, because before you weren't aware of it, how was like the transformation? What did you do for that transformation to happen, or it just happened from experience?
I'm gonna go back to what I said, like when my dad kind of mentored me from a spirituality standpoint. I'm gonna try to keep it on point. But when I resigned, and I'm gonna say why I put so much belief or why I had so much faith in my dad mentoring me. Actually, when I resigned from my job, I was an air traffic controller. I was making about $70,000 a year at 21, 22 years old, and so good job. I had just bought a house, had a nice car and everything. So when I resigned, it was kind of like I'm on edge because like, I'm making, my life is kind of on track. It's like I'm about to replace this dream. And it was just like, so what's crazy though, like I said, my dad's a pastor. He actually sent me 2 scriptures the day I put my informal 2-week notice in. And he had no idea I was resigning. I didn't even tell him until 6 months later. So I actually the scriptures, and he said he just had a dream, or he just woke up with it on his mind. He had never sent me scriptures before that, really, maybe like once in a blue moon. And I was like, man, dude, this man sent me these scriptures the day I resigned. So about a year ago, February 11th, he sent me these prosperity and abundance scriptures. And if anyone who knows anything about the subconscious and affirmations, you know that the subconscious mind is going to is really going to shape your life, because that's where your perspective is drawn from. So how your subconscious is really going to cause what you attract, good or bad, into your life. Now, quoting affirmations or whatnot, you reprogram your subconscious through auto-suggestion. Well, I had affirmations and everything around my house. I was quoting them. I fall asleep listening to I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm well. I'm sorry, I'm going to connect this. This is long. But so I would connect this. I would fall asleep listening to these affirmations and whatnot. I'd do it for 6 months, had them around the house, and they never made a difference. And so February 11th, 2022, my dad sent me, he sent the scriptures 2021 December. February 11th, 2022, that's the exact date. He sent me a paragraph, and he said, you read those, they were prosperity and abundance scriptures. So they work just like affirmations, but it's the Bible. It was the word. So it's, I like to say it's a little bit more living. Man, I read those scriptures every single day for a year, starting from February 11th, 2022. He said, God is going to do a new thing in your mind. So I read those scriptures every day for a year. I knew for him sending me those scriptures when I resigned, that I knew that this was spiritual. I knew that this was God speaking through him. This wasn't just him, talking. So February 2022, I read those scriptures every single day for a year. And I got funded February 13th, 2023 this year. He told me I'd be at the end of that year. And so I'm sad to say, it was a lot of self-awareness. It was like a lot of self-development. I still was on the charts every day during the midst of that year, but it was like throughout the time when we read those scriptures, stuff would just happen in my mind. Like I would be more grounded. I would be more aware of what's going on. And like his prophecy basically came to fruition. I stayed to what he said to do. And it's like, me constantly saying those scriptures every day, I saw my mind become renewed to that of a consistent, successful trader, basically.
Wow, so interesting. And I believe that those things helped you also when you've been losing the accounts that you said you've lost 10 accounts. You've lost $30,000. Was it something else that helped you to cope with the hard emotions? Or it was mainly the spiritual work? And
I would say it was the spiritual work, because the last account I actually lost, at this time, like I said, I got consistent in December, but the last account I actually lost was October, November. And the account was negative. It was with FTMO. The account was negative. And I had took a trade. It was a GJ long. I went long on GJ, and I was $5 away from being back in positive, just to get the free repeat, and on a 50K account. And it couldn't give me the $5 before the markets closed. So I lost the account. And then as soon as the markets opened, the account was in profit $100. And it was just so it's it really wasn't anything else, because that was a really pivotal moment, because it's at that point I was pissed. I'm not going to lie. I was pretty infuriated, but it probably was small. I'm very consistent with working out. I really believe you have to have a structure day to day to have, you are what you do. So, and it's going to transition to everything. So if I skip the gym, 2 days out the week, 3 days out the week, who's to say I'm not going to like want to, I don't need to follow these rules on the charts and lose the next trade. So, it could have been other stuff, but I do go back to the scriptures because the only thing that changed in the past year was the fact that I incorporated scriptures. My daily routine has been the same the whole time I've been struggling. I would get up, get on a chart, study for 10, 15 hours, study for 10, 12 hours. I would read books. I've read like 20 books, in the past so many years, watched countless TED Talks on the subconscious and stuff. And I did not see a change until I started quoting those scriptures. Like I would have realizations and just realize about how just me as a person, like they would bring me to tears. And it wasn't reading the scriptures. And it's like, it gave me, in a sense, it kind of allowed me to put the weight on someone else. Whereas I was saying, I am healthy, I'm wealthy, or I'm going day-to-day studying. Like, I deserve to be successful because I'm grinding, I'm studying 15 hours a day. I did feel like that. Of course, it still was worthwhile. But it's like, once I started quoting, stuff like, he is like a tree planted by the rivers of water, or God has given me the power to get wealth. Now it's like, God, you said that. That's a universal law. That's a spiritual law. Since it was the universe, or since it was it's a spiritual law. That means if I believe it, I have to have the power to get wealth because God said it. And it's a universal fact. It's a universal law. And so, a lot of times when I was struggling, I would just go back to that place in my head. I would find myself meditating and going back to that spiritual place so that I could, project myself and still maintain. Because it's all about vibrating too. You want to exactly. So it's like you got to be it before you are it. And so I had to be it before I was really abundant. So that was kept me grounded. Now I do contribute a lot of my success to that. I'll probably reference it again depending on what you ask. But I do think the other stuff is important, like working out and just staying focused. But I just know I noticed a change in my life when I focused on the scripture.
So interesting. How did you find TFT and how is your experience with us?
So TFT is actually great. Let's start there. I've reached out to customer support a couple of times, and I've like the responses are relatively quick. I've never really had to question any like funny business going on because it's always funny. Just it's a lot of firms popping up, and you heard of people not getting paid out. Stuff like my payout, it may have taken they say 20, y'all say 24 hours. It may have taken a little bit longer, but it was, if it did take a little longer, maybe like 26 hours, 28 hours, it would have been bad. The payout process was smooth and seamless. I didn't get hit with any fees. The customer service has been great. And then what else I do like about TFT, and I'm going to get into the other question, how I found y'all, but the other thing I like about TFT is how I know the firm is still young, so that's probably why. But I love how close-knit the firm is. Like, I'm in the funded trader Discord, and like I see Angelo responding to everybody on a continuous basis. Like, he has answered my question. Like, he wasn't even online when I asked the question, but I know he went and saw because he scrolled up. Like, I just like close-knitness, like I guess you could say like the intimate relationship between all the traders and stuff. I found you all actually because I hate that 10-day trading rule with FTMO so much because it's like 10 trading days because it's like I might not even trade 10 days out the month, depending on I might not place a trade. I'm active on the charts 5 days out the week. Like I'm watching the markets 6 to 10 every single morning, Monday through Friday. But as far as actively taking a trade, like I said, only trade Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, sometimes Fridays, sometimes Wednesdays. But I will sacrifice Wednesday and Friday like to go do other stuff because I don't like the markets on those days. But anyways, so it's like I would pass a challenge or like I would do what I would do. And then it's like I got to go place dummy trades for these other 3 days because I only place, and it's halfway through the month, whatever the case may be. But I found TFT for 2 reasons because one, FTMO was constantly going up in their prices. I didn't want to pay that. And then two, the trading days. So I just went and did some research on YouTube, found my Forex funds, TFT, and FTMO. Well, I was already experienced with FTMO, so that ruled them out. And then my Forex funds, I just didn't like I know TFT has a few accounts with the drawdown being in equity too, and it may even be like that on a Rapid account, I'm not sure, but it just turned me off from my Forex funds. So I went to TFT and I saw that y'all had so many reviews on Trustpilot or I think it's Trustpilot, then YouTube, there's a few good reviews from TFT, but TFT definitely holds up the hype. Everything has been, like I said, seamless, and my experience with y'all has been great so far.
Glad to hear that. Can you share your screen and show us a little bit of your strategy or a recent trade that you took?
Okay, I'm gonna break down. I have a highlight on the drop, so or a projection, so I'll just break down this position right here. But yeah, I always start from a top-down analysis. I don't too much analyze the weekly, but will I will analyze the weekly just to kind of see how that candlestick is forming out. So like this trade right here, for example, I took on a Tuesday. So So this was actually a Tuesday, or sorry, this was actually a Tuesday candlestick. So price was pretty much ranging for like the past few days right here with the previous candlestick pretty much exhausting to the downside. I always mark off like my daily levels in increments of 500 pips, kind of like the quarter point theory, but that's every 25 or 250. I just mark them off on like every 500 pips because GJ is so volatile. I haven't really seen a need to use every 250 pips. But anyways, in this scenario right here, pretty much price was ranging between this zone right here and then this zone right here with an extreme exhaustion right here. So I went down to the 4 hour and I always basing my daily volume off the 4 a.m. candlestick. So in this right here, your 4 a.m. candlestick was pretty much bullish, along with the previous candlestick being bullish, which opened at midnight. A lot of times what I realized, since I trade from 6:30 to 10, 6:30 to 8, I can pretty much decide, or I can figure out which way that 4 hour candlestick wants to go. So I'm guessing, I can't remember the exact headspace I was in when I took this position, but I'm guessing whenever I took this position, let's go down to like the 15-minute. The market probably started to exhaust on that 4 hours. So yeah, so 6:15, I got in at 6:30. I did get in on this candlestick. I got in at the 6:15 candlestick. And if I had to guess at that point in time, I pretty much figured that 4 hour was exhausting to the downside. If you go look at it, it did leave an exhaustion to the downside and then went ahead and continued up. So yeah, it left this long whip right here. And yeah, and then I pretty much just enter on 15 minutes supply and demand and confluence with the 4 hour. So
and what are the moving averages that you use?
I have them locked to the 1 hour, but I use the 21 moving average and I have an 8 EMA, exponential moving average.
Do you use them only to determine the trend or you use them also for other confirmations?
They're kind of just for fun, honestly. Like I'll find a trade. I'm always prioritize the 4 hour and the daily directional bias. So whatever direction I'm getting from the 4 hour or the daily, and more so the 4 hour. So if the moving averages don't exactly agree with the direction I'm seeing on the 4 hour, I'll kind of ignore them. But it's like I'm taking a position where like this honestly was a beautiful setup. Like I love these setups right here when you got the 4 hour and constant basically in following or when you got strong momentum to one side, obviously the moving averages are going to agree with the move if the momentum's strong. But it is definitely a grade setup, I'll say, when the moving averages are aligned with the 4 hour momentum. Because there'll be a lot, like, I wouldn't have taken, well, I guess it just depends. But I'm sorry, what were you about to say?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the stop loss placement and the targets. Do you have fixed stop loss and targets, or how do you decide where to put your stop loss and where to put your TP?
So my stop loss is typically just under my entry candle. So since I entered on this candlestick right here, then my stop loss just went below like this little higher low, I guess you could say. So it's always going below the higher low that I entered on, or what I'm expecting to be the higher low. Yeah. And then as far as I'm always only targeting pretty much a 1 for 2. It's going to be a day where I'm going to catch like a 1 for 10, 1 for 8. But I'm not rushing it. It's going to be something like I leave a runner. But my rule of thumb is always to go for a 1 for 2. And if I can't get a 1 for 2 before the next zone, well, typically 4 hour zone is hit, then I won't take the setup. Or if I do take it, I'm a little bit more inclined to get to break even. So in this scenario right here, I was pretty much targeting this 4 hour zone, or I was expecting the trade to be able to fulfill this 4 hour zone. Which it did to the T. And yeah, I'm never going to take a position that doesn't have enough room, because I don't want to have just enough room for a 1 for 2. Like I want it to be able to run for about a 1 for 3 or a 1 for 4, because that's kind of playing stuff close. But yeah, I'm pretty much always targeting a 1 for 2. My stop loss is always going below the structure I'm entering on the lower time frame. And
when do you move the stop loss to break even?
So it's kind of tricky. I would say I have more of like a mental break even stop, because like if you look at this scenario right here, there was actually news. The dollar had news, but it affected the yen, I'm guessing. So that's what this 15-minute candlestick is right here. USD had news. And so I have moved my stop loss to break even a handful of times. And it's like, it just doesn't really work out. I've gotten stopped out and prices went back in my direction more often than not, because this is a pretty decent stop loss. This is a 37 pip stop. But like, let's see which one is. So like a lot of times my stop loss, like I'll have like maybe like a 20 pip stop loss possibly. Like, see. All right, so that's 16. So like I took this position. Okay, so these stop losses are big. Maybe it's just because it's GJ, but like on AU and stuff like that, I'll have like 10, 15, 20 pip stops. And so if I'm targeting 20 pips, I don't really see 10, 15 pips up to be enough to move to break even, because the market has to breathe.
Yeah. And which pairs do you trade? You showed us GJ. You said you trade GU.
I trade GJ, GU, UJ, and AU, with GJ being my favorite. And then I'd say
how did you choose? How did you choose to stick only to these ones?
So I actually have studied GJ the most. I probably was just doing a little bit of like, I guess, money chasing at first. GJ is just the market that I have the most experience with. I like how she moves. She's pretty fluent, wild, but fluent. But I don't know. Honestly, I just took a interest in these markets for one reason or another throughout the course of my trading career, and these are the ones that kind of stuck.
As far as I see, you are a day trader. You don't keep trades for a longer time.
I pretty much try to be out for the most part. A lot of my time, the times my take profits get hit within like on a good day, an hour. But aside from that, maybe it might take 2 to 3 to 4 hours. But even that GJ trade that I scrolled back to show y'all, I had got in it. I was in it for about 3 hours, and then pretty much once the New York volume died down, it was the whole time I was in it. And then it went ahead and hit my TP actually the next day during London.
And do you have a favorite session that you trade?
Yeah, so I only trade New York. Like I'm only trading from 6 to 10. Like I'm never really trading past that. If I'm trading past 10, then I'm breaking my rules. But I will say like a piece of advice. It's easiest, like the market spits moves out all day, every session, even as involatile or unvolatile as Asian is, you can still get set up to turn Asian depending on how trader you are. But that's not that contributed to my success, was only watching one session. Like only watching that New York session, giving myself like, just being fully present for that 3-4 hour span, allowing myself to like really navigate that.
Yeah. What are your goals with trading and in life in general?
Ooh, okay.
Like so where do you see yourself in the near future, like in 5-10 years?
Oh, 5-10 years, I see myself managing millions of dollars of my own money, being pretty big off into real estate, because real estate is actually the next endeavor. Trading was always the main thing, is always my vehicle. I love trading. Like it's fun, especially when you're winning. It's a rush, but I say managing a nice hefty account or accounts and big off into real estate. That'll be my next thing that I step off into actually this year, is getting a rental property and stuff like that. But I want to get a big off into commercial real estate. And then not sure where I'll be living, but I do really plan on giving back a lot. So, 5 years is plenty enough time for me to actually start doing that. Like through the midst of my 4 years, I didn't really go into as much detail as I could have, I guess, over the course of this. But the midst of those 4 years, they really taught me that you have people out here who are doing everything they can. Of course, my dreams were a little bit, to really, do what I'm doing or do what I want to do with trading, which is a little bit more extreme. But you have people out here who are putting that same effort, just to feed families, or just like, single moms and stuff like that, or parents who are like really, like some people are just down on their luck. And knowing what I know from studying, like I know, that you can really hustle, you can work, because I was trading and I'll be like just doing stuff like I'll be Ubering like 10, 12 hours a day, man, just like to pay my bills. But still, I didn't want to work for anybody because I wanted to be able to trade. I wanted trading to be my priority. And if I work for somebody, I would have to prioritize that. If someone to be at work for 8, I had to be at work for 8. But then with Uber, I could trade in the morning, then I can go Uber till 1 in the morning. Like, I can save my money. So I know what it's like to like really be out here grinding and like doing what you can, whether it's to feed your family or to make your dreams happen, this and that, And like ultimately, I want to reach back and be able to, basically give capital back too. But I want to be able to give the knowledge back, because it's the knowledge that'll get you out your situation. The mindset. You can't outwork poverty, but you can learn the correct things and the correct thinking and thought process and stuff like that will attract a better life. So
nice.
I don't think it's impossible.
Yeah, love that. And what advice would you give to traders that are just getting started?
Meditate on scriptures. Honestly, I'm serious. Like even if you're not religious, because the Bible is a spiritual book that teaches you how to operate through life. Even like I say, whether you're religious or not, these laws they're universal. They're God's laws. They're universal laws. Jesus was, the Son of God who came down and basically operated within God's laws and was able to do all this miraculous stuff. But, the Bible says we could do greater. And so with that being said, meditating on scriptures, and you'll see, I cannot make this up. It is 100% success rate. That's what I believe. You meditate on some prosperity and abundant scriptures, you will be where you want to be at the end of that year. And it may be shorter for somebody. It may only take 3 months, 4 months. And if you're not religious, you can still do the affirmations, but it's like I did the affirmations for months on end. I didn't see anything happen. So, but, of course, find you one course to study, buy into one person's course, study that one course, learn it. And, when you're taking these trades and when you're analyzing these charts, don't do it like, I got to be good at trading that. But like, have some compassion with yourself, because you'll learn more if you're criticizing yourself with compassion versus trying to do it like, oh man, why am I not want to be yet? Just like, okay, you know what? I took this buy into this far resistance. Let me just be more aware of that next time and be a little bit slower to pull the trigger, allow myself, stuff like that. But yeah, definitely buy one course, spend a lot of time meditating, quoting scripture or affirmations, and, just try to be more aware and compassionate with yourself.
Any last words that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, like TFT is the firm I will be trading with for this. I will definitely be acquiring $1.5 million through funding for you guys, through you guys. So I won't be switching firms. I can say that TFT has definitely been great with my experience. Everything with TFT has been great up to this point. And as far as people who are like, still trying to find that consistency, do your day-to-day, especially, get on your charts every day and stuff like that. But, focus your growth on the mental and the spiritual side, not so much as trying to hoard FX knowledge. There's thousands of indicators to pick up on and learn from. There's literally thousands of ways to be profitable. Like you can, study 500 of the thousands and, you still won't be consistent until you get what's wrong internally down pat. So prioritize your energy to yourself and the profits will flow.
Very well said. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here and sharing your experience with us. It's been a pleasure. And I hope to have a follow-up with you in the near future with many payouts and bigger accounts.
I definitely will be speaking again soon. I appreciate the opportunity for you guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's all from today's interview. To all you watching, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and show us some love in the comments down below. Trade safe, and until next time.